And we are live, I believe. Finally got it working. A few minutes late. Sorry, gents, if anybody's tuned in already. Welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Ben Campbell. I'm a men's coach specializing in social matters, so dating and making friends, things like that. Can also help a little bit with productivity. The format of this show is that viewers and coaching clients, people that are within my server, they ask questions. I answer them on the stream in a sort of off-the-cuff format. None of the answers are pre-planned or prepared. That's why the show is called Off the Cuff. If you want to ask a question or if you want to call into the show, you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement and ask your question in there. There is a channel called Submissions. I am joined by my good friend and I was going to say former client. I guess you are still a client, but you're more of a friend at this point. Anton Toya, who's tuned in live from Thailand. Say hello.
Yeah, hello guys. Yeah, well, we still often have calls about social matters, so it's in a way still like a former client, but also a good friend, I would say.
More and more friend than client at this point. Right. We got some questions from some people here. Let me find a good one, and then I'll... Hello, Ben. I hope you're having a great day. Recently, I watched a YouTube video that delved into why a certain character from a book/movie, Greg Heffley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, is portrayed as a sociopath. What particularly caught my attention in this video was his intense desire for love and attention from those around him, which stems primarily from his upbringing in a dysfunctional family. This is quite an in-depth question. Upon reflection, I find myself identifying with his struggles, especially in my own experiences with short-term relationships such as online friendships. I tend to become overly attached, struggling to let go even after the person has made clear that they're not interested in continuing this friendship. This sometimes leads me to regrettable actions such as fabricating achievements or resorting to negative behavior just to maintain the relationship. Ultimately, my question is, how can I overcome this pattern and is it healthy? You often advocate against the notion of the lone wolf mentality, yet in situations like these, I find myself leaning toward it due to my repeated failures in forming lasting friendships. Looking forward to your insight. Okay, let me think about this for a minute.
That is a very loaded question. So I'm looking forward for your answer on this one.
Okay, so he's basically saying that he tries to form friendships with people, becomes overly attached. I'm not sure where the sociopath bit fits in, but I can talk about that in a minute. He tries to form friendships with people. It doesn't go too well. He becomes overly attached, and then can't. It sounds essentially like loneliness and like the you don't have very many people in your life, and so when someone does come along that shows you any sort of friendly affection, amiability, that sort of thing, you latch onto that person and hope that they can essentially fill something that's inside of you, a need that's not being met. So having friends and dating and all these things, just having other people around is incredibly important. It's something that we need as human beings. We can't live without other people. And so it's normal if you have a lack of other people in your life and a lack of good friendships for you to feel that sense of longing, and it's perfectly normal for you to get very attached to people when they do come along because you're trying to get your needs met. So I wouldn't worry about like that. It's not healthy, but it's not an abnormal behavior for someone in your situation. My question is, how can I overcome this pattern? Yeah, you advocate against the lone wolf mentality. Yeah, I absolutely do. This whole like, oh, go it alone and be independent and fucking Sigma male and all this bullshit. It's like we're very. I think in the modern era we've become more detached from each other, and as we've delved into the online world more, and we've become more representations of ourselves online rather than actually being ourselves and meeting in person, it has become harder for people to socialize, and the quality of people's friendships and the quality of people's relationships and the amount of people that they have around them that they consider to be close to them has diminished greatly. And I think at this point most people don't have anybody in their lives that they feel is close to them. Like they might have acquaintances or friends, but they don't have really deep relationships anymore. And I think a symptom of that, and people are kind of angry and bitter, and a symptom of that is this whole lone wolf mentality where people go, oh well, if I can't get it, I don't fucking need it, fuck you, and they just try to do everything in their life alone, which is not like you need other people, and everything good in life comes from your relationships with other people. Otherwise, like, what's the point? If you have everything that you want in life but no one to share it with, what the fuck's the point? So to get back to your question, it's normal for this to happen to you, and the way that you fix it. You say, so first of all, you say you identify with this character. He's portrayed as a sociopath. He has an intense desire for love and attention from those around him. I'm not a psychologist. I've never studied psychology. So what I'm about to say is completely opinion. You shouldn't take it as fact. You should definitely look into what I'm about to say and back it up for yourself. But I think that sociopathy differs from psychopathy in that it's the result of trauma, as opposed to, like, I think that psychopaths are born psychopaths. I think that sociopaths are people that have gone through horrible shit and sort of isolated and withdrawn from society and from other people, and they lack empathy, not because they're incapable of feeling empathy, but because they are blocking because it's too painful. And so if you I would say that I used to be that kind of person. Like, I used to be a very angry, traumatized fucking angry and traumatized kid, and I didn't have good relationships with other people, and I lacked empathy because I was shutting myself off because I didn't want to feel the things that I was feeling, and the loneliness was too much for me to bear, and so I just shut down. And if you're experiencing that sort of thing, I feel for you, I empathize with you, but I wouldn't put a label on yourself or start to call yourself a sociopath. And if you're empathizing and if you're relating to this character as a way to sort of explain your own situation, that's kind of okay if it helps you to recognize your own problems. But if you're doing it as like you're putting a label on yourself, that can be very dangerous, because the labels that especially when you're self-diagnosing, the labels that you put on yourself can end up becoming boxes and things that you conform to more than things that, like, it defines you rather than you defining it, if that makes sense. So the best advice that I can give you is to put yourself out there and do the work to get over your social fears and to make friends. Like, no matter who you are, there are people out there that are compatible with you. And the reason that you're seeking, when certain people come along, you're seeking their friendship, is because you don't have enough people who are actually want to be your friend in your life. So, and then these people pull away, and they're probably pulling away. This might sound quite harsh, but they're probably pulling away because you have aspects of your personality and aspects that come out around these people that come across as needy or like a lack of if for someone to be your friend, you need to have stuff going on in your life. You need to have compatibilities and things that are interesting about you. And so if you've never developed that side of yourself and you've never really been sociable, there's very little about you that people will want to people need to want to have you around. And so the things that you need to look at and the things that you need to fix, first of all, accepting that this is something that you can fix and not just going, woe is me. And I don't think that you're doing this, but this is a common thread that I see with like incels and people like that. They don't have the things that they want in life, and rather than accepting it as their responsibility and doing the work to get those things, they instead just shy away from it and say like, oh, I'm hopeless. So don't do that. Accept that this is your responsibility first of all, and that you can change and that you can become more sociable, and go out and just start talking to people and meeting people and putting yourself in situations where you're socializing so that you get good at it. And do things to get over your social fears and things like that. Expose yourself to uncomfortable situations. And it might take a long time for you to actually start attracting people. But over a while, as you start to do different things and like pick up hobbies and meeting different people, you'll gain experience and you'll start to like build yourself interesting personality. You'll start to do things that make other people notice you, essentially. Because right now, if you've got nothing going on and you're having a hard time making friends and attracting people, if you start to just go out not with the goal of directly making friends, but with the goal of just exposing yourself to being social and accepting that most people are going to leave your life for a while, over time you will build yourself to the point where you have something to show for yourself, and you start to bring friends and relationships and things like that. And then from there it becomes like a skill, and it becomes something that you won't be acting as needy anymore, because you'll start to be getting your needs met, and from there it'll fucking snowball. So there'll be a period of a fair, it might be a few weeks, might be a few months, it depends how hard you work at this, essentially. But there will be a period where you're not really seeing results, but you're just developing internally, and in like a coiled fucking spring you'll just shoot off, and suddenly you'll be getting like friends and relationships and things like this, and from there it'll just snowball, and these problems that you're identifying will go away. So to summarize what I've been saying, don't worry about the fact that you feel that way. These are normal, healthy feelings, but it's a symptom of an underlying problem, and that underlying problem is I would say that you just don't have enough experience. You don't have enough stuff going on that makes you, worthy is a bad word, but worthy of other people's attention and respect and things like that. But these are things that you can work on. I hope that answers your question, and I'm not going to name your name, but you are someone that has been in the coaching thing before. I understand why you left, but when you come back on your time to do that, this is something that we can talk about and work on together. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Anton?
Yeah, no, I actually absolutely loved your answer. And I wrote a few things down when the question was being asked. And I think they were very similar to what you said.
Mm.
But I basically think this whole online thing, it comes from, it's such a safe space. You don't have to, it's the same about dating online on Tinder. The rejection is not even there. You don't even notice when they swipe left on you. So that's why it's like, it's such a comfortable space to be in. Without fearing rejection, the online life. And so yeah, you should just go out there and hone your character, like learn how to be charismatic, learn how to listen to people. And this is going to take some time, but as you said, once you will become good at this, you will create an abundance mentality. And abundance, I love this word so much. It's hard to explain to people, but the feeling you get when you're like abundant in your life it's amazing. And then I would like to finish with a quote that one of my best friends and colleagues said. It's not about the goals you set out in your life, it's about the people you meet along the way. And I think that it's so important. We are social creatures and we need people in our life, and acting as if you don't is a serious mistake.
Yeah. I forgot to touch on the online relationships part of this actually as well. It's like, yeah, hold on. Tend to go overly attached. It leads me to regrettable actions such as fabricating achievements and resorting to negative behaviors just to maintain the relationship. Yeah. I mean, I think I've said all I have to say on this, to be honest. I was about to go back and find something new, but I think I've said everything I need to say on this, and I do empathize, and I was in the I feel what this guy is saying, because I was in that exact position when I was a teenager. I did all of the things that I used to lie and make shit up and pretend that I was more than I am, and again, that is a symptom of you just not actually having anything that you feel you can present. But you can fix that. But yeah, move away from online relationships, move away from online friendships, and try and meet people in real life. Because even if you have great online friends, it's not going to fulfill you long term. You need people in your life, like people that are around you that are physically there. Yeah.
Yes, somebody just to even touch or just have live conversations. It's not the same as online.
Yeah. So I'm just reading another question. It's from the same person. I think it covers most of the same things. So one moment. Okay, I think this is slightly different. Is my approach and mindset toward forming friendships functional? Because I prefer online friendships over real life friendships. I'm okay with cutting bonds with people, but what if things go wrong sometimes? There are those who've used my information to connect with dangerous individuals, putting me at risk. Deleting that isn't so simple now. I've got enemies in real life who are actively seeking to harm me and bring me down. However, online, if I make enemies and people start teaming up against me, I can just delete my profile and start over. It's not about abandoning friendships, it's more about prioritizing safety in the exploration of engagement with communities. Online, they can't harm me without knowing my private data, which I'm not willing to share. They can only insult me, and honestly, that doesn't bother me. Unlike in real life, where anyone can access my private data just by being near me. So it's all about not revealing myself until I establish trust. The world is full of scammers, deceitful individuals, and criminals, and interacting with them is inevitable in my search for knowledge and connections. Unfortunately, some individuals pretend to be my friends only to twist my words and incriminate me, often to gain favor with societal norms. It's similar to a corrupt police official baiting someone to commit a crime for personal gain. Moreover, there are scammers who aim to exploit me. Blah, 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 blah. Maintain safety. I choose to conceal my true identity and yet my physical body too, while still utilizing various online communication methods. It's a choice that allows me to interact freely without compromising my safety. Okay. Yeah. Forgetting about the fact that you have experienced bad things, that it's understandable if you've experienced people fucking you over and scamming, and you said that something happened with some dangerous individuals, so it's probably a reasonably traumatizing experience. Forgetting that for a second, your mindset, just in the way that you've written this, you're clearly someone who is, maybe rightfully so, but paranoid, and you you're saying that the world is full of scammers and deceitful individuals and criminals and bad people, and you're hammering that point several times, which shows me that your mindset is that the world is full of terrible people. And I'm not you can't necessarily control your experiences, and bad things do happen to good people. But if you, whatever you look for in the world and whatever you expect to find is what you're going to find. So if you're going around expecting that people are going to be deceitful and bad and do bad things, whether it's because of some energetic thing or whether it's because you're acting in a way that brings certain results, you are going to meet more people like that. Whatever you expect people to do and expect people to give you is what's going to happen. So if the only way to get over the experiences that you're having are to eliminate that mindset and start being more open and trusting with people, not giving them things to use against you. Like you don't, it's. I'm not. I'm struggling to think of a good metaphor or example here, but it's like give people your trust, but only to the extent where they couldn't use it against you in a way that would really harm you. And if threats have been made to your physical person, then obviously you need to distance yourself from that and move away from those kinds of people. But don't expect the whole world to be like that. And like the solution is to distance yourself from those people and accept that it was a bad experience, not to shut down completely and move your entire life online because you're scared of that kind of thing happening again. That's not going to help. It's like, this is a very controversial thing to say, but there is a reason that, for example, women that are abused in relationships tend to have more their future relationships tend to always also be with abusive people. There's something, and I'm not this isn't me blaming the victim here. I'm just saying that if you've had a traumatic experience and then you start to expect that, subconsciously you start to look for those things and attract those kinds of people. And the only way to fix that is to change yourself out from being the victim and accept responsibility, not for the things that happened to you, those weren't your fault, but for moving forward. Because if you stay trapped in that loop, you're just going to keep experiencing the same things over and over and over again. It's been I'm a very trusting, giving, reasonably generous person, right? And I rarely, if ever, get fucked over. And when I do, I don't get fucked over to the point where it deeply affects my life. I tend to meet people and they're friendly and open and giving, and I have good experiences with people and I trust people, and they turn out to be trustworthy. My experience from your experience, we're not surrounded by different people. All the people exist in the world, the good ones, the bad ones, and everywhere in between. But the ones that you experience and the ones you attract are down to the mindset that you have and the way that you carry yourself in the world. So I'm sorry that bad things have happened to you, and I'm sorry that you've had negative experiences where you've had to hide or move or conceal your identity for risk of bad things happening with, quote, dangerous individuals. But the solution to that is not to shut down. The solution to that is to move forward and accept that that's an isolated incident and not expect the whole world to be like that. How do you feel about that answer, Anton? I'm kind of treading on dangerous ground here, I think.
Yeah, it was a very dark subject in a way, and I think you broke it down very, very good. And as you said, it basically comes down to the law of attraction. How you think is what you'll get. A small point that I would like to ask you further in this question, like, for example, when we did social freedom on the streets, I used to have this big fear of what people were going to think of me. And then when I actually did them, nobody cared.
Yeah, so most people are apathetic and or friendly. Like they'll either be completely neutral or friendly toward you, no matter what you do. So if you're experiencing predominantly bad things, you're either in a bad area, and which is just like you are physically located somewhere that is filled predominantly with bad people, in which case you should do what you can to remove yourself from that situation, or there's something that you're doing that is attracting these people.
Yeah. And then also, maybe a very simple example, but when I feel inconfident or not very confident and I feel bad about myself, and I give a look in the mirror and I see myself a bit hunched over, looking down all the time. Then when I just put in my mind that I'm positive and I see myself again and I'm standing straight and I feel so much better and I attract way better energies that way, and way nicer people just because I behave in a different way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you
It's
could
so
say that this
crucial.
is like a body language thing or it's an energy. I was talking about this with Slade last night because we're walking down the street and we got checked out by a couple of girls that walked past, and we've both had that experience, and I'm sure that
The
you've had
usual.
that experience as well. We've both had the experience. And I'm sure that you've had the experience as well. That if you are in a negative headspace, no one pays attention to you. People leave you the fuck alone. You never get checked out. If you're even if you're carrying, even if you're walking the same and you're like portraying confidence, if you actually feel good about yourself, people start like checking you out. Like on the days where I feel good and I go out, I get more attention from women and from other people. On the days where I feel bad, no one pays attention to me. I'm exactly the same. My physical appearance is exactly the same. So it must be something energetic. There must be like a vibe that you're putting off. And yeah, so to this person who asked this question, it's a shit answer, and it's probably not the answer that you want, but yeah, you have to get over this and start to trust and believe that people are good and that the world is predominantly full of good people, because there's good and bad in equal measure. We live in a dualistic reality. It's impossible to escape, right? There's horrible, evil shit going on all of the time, but there's also wonderful, beautiful shit going on all of the time, and it's up to you what you get to choose to experience. And I really do believe, and I've had experiences that affirm this, and I don't know anybody that hasn't had experiences that affirm this, that the way that you think about the world is how you experience it. So yeah, don't let yourself continue to be the victim. And I wish I could
Totally.
talk more about the actual emotional side of this, but I guess that this is something to talk about with a therapist, or if you know that, if you realize that this is a problem, you're at a place where you're like emotionally intelligent and competent enough to see your own issues and want to solve them, get coaching, and we'll get you to the point where you are meeting good people. Like I take clients out in the street and they go out and they talk to people and they don't have bad experiences. They meet great, wonderful people, and perhaps having experiences like that will change your own person. I think there's a few ways that you can change your beliefs about the world. And you can either do it through repetition and just repeating thoughts over and over to yourself, or you can do it through experience. It's impossible to go out with a belief and then experience something that negates that and then still hold on to the belief. It's what Anton was talking about just a second ago by saying, like, he was expecting people to react negatively to him when he was doing social freedom exercises, but then he noticed that the predominant reaction was good. And what did that do to your belief about how people were going to treat you, Anton?
Oh, it changed my mind and my energy immediately. Like I was happy, I was vibrant.
Yeah. So you
And we
can't
actually
hold
had like
both in your
a few
mind
months.
simultaneously. Sorry, and you go.
No, exactly. And we had like back, I think it was in September. I came back from an event with colleagues, and you and me had a call, and I said to you, we had a discussion about this. It's not what you say; it's how you say it. And this is so true. Like if you just have a good energy in conversation, you can basically almost say, like, of course not everything you want, but say whatever, and it's that was very wrong advice.
No, it's a good point. Like I had someone ask a while ago. We were talking about pre-frames, and to summarize here, a pre-frame is basically just it's a tool. It's a social tool that you use to call out anything about, like if you're making an approach, say you're approaching a woman. A pre-frame is a tool that you use to call out anything that might be misconstrued or come across negatively. So, for example, if you're in I always go back to the cafe example. If you're in a cafe and you want to talk to the barista, she's very busy, she's at work, she's got a lot going on. If you just walk up and say, hey, you're cute, can I have your number? You're dumping a load of implication on her lap. She doesn't know if, like, she says no to you, if something weird's going to happen. If you're a regular here, it's a whole bunch more shit. She's probably very busy and stressed out. And so it's this whole mess of stuff that she now has to deal with. Whereas if you say, like, hey, I understand you're at work right now and you're very busy. Don't want to take too much of your time. I really don't want to cause a problem or a scene here, but I think you're really cute. Do you mind if I get your number and I'll text you after work? At that point, she's going to feel a lot safer saying no to you if she wants to, or understanding that you're not just about to stand there and take all of her time while she has shit to do, and that she can just give you her number and talk later. So the pre-frame is getting all of that stuff out there. Similarly, if you walk up to somebody and you're really nervous and you're stuttering and you pretend to be confident, it causes a sense of dissonance between your actions and your internal state, which can come across as creepy or weird. So if instead you go, hey, I'm really nervous right now, that's why I'm behaving like this. Give me a minute and I'll calm down and we can have a proper conversation. You're giving them the information information that they need to understand your behavior, which means that it's no longer creepy or weird. It's understandable. They go, oh, he's just nervous. Yeah, I'm nervous too. This makes sense. You know, I've lost my train of thought. Why did I bring up preframes?
I don't know, but I do want to correct this small mistake that you made, though. You said it's a social tool, but it's the best social tool.
It's not just a social tool, it's the social tool. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I was talking to somebody a while ago and he was like, because I think I was talking about that I'd gone and walked up to somebody and complimented their ass or something like that. And he was like, oh, I'm really afraid to make sexual comments with women. I feel like it's wrong. And I was trying to explain that there is a massive difference between walking up to a stranger and going, hey, nice ass, right? And walking up to someone and going, like, say someone's clearly just come out the gym, they're wearing joggers, like they're showing off their ass, right? If you walk up to them and you say, hey, I know that this is a very forward thing to say and I really don't want to make you uncomfortable, but your ass looks fantastic. Like, I'm over here, I'm staring, I can't help myself. Do you squat? Like, how much do you squat? Can I get an ass like that? The energy is completely different. And most people are very unlikely to take that badly. And I've said that exact thing to people a couple of times, and the result is usually positive. And if it's not, you can apologize. Like, it's very easy. People are very forgiving in social situations. But yeah, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. You had a similar experience when you were in Sofia and you were trying to like flirt with a girl over text, and I'm like, just say this, and you're like, I can't say that. It would go wrong, and I'm like, oh no, God forbid this woman that you approached in the gym and asked out on a date thinks that you want to fuck her. Oh no, you know, like there's this weird idea that a lot of guys have, and it comes from fear, but we think it, like we rationalize. We're very, very good at having a fear and then coming up with some justification as to why that fear exists and making it seem reasonable. Like, oh, you know, women aren't as sexual as us, and I couldn't possibly say things like that because she's innocent and pure. And bullshit, fucking you're human. Like, everybody exists, right? Because of fucking. Your parents fucked, your grandparents fucked, everybody before you fucked. It's like one of the primary motivating drives for people. And so there's nothing wrong with discussing these things openly and talking about these things with other people. I've never had a bad experience being openly sexual with people. The only time it goes badly is if you're doing it in an uncalibrated way, or you're doing it with people that aren't there with you yet. Like, if you just walk up to people and you're like, hey, how's your pussy look? You know, that's really fucking weird and creepy. Don't do that, right? But if you walk up like and you're just being like a little bit flirty or whatever and playful with it, it's a completely different vibe. So yeah, that goes back to what you're saying. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's the intention that you're going into it with and the level of calibration that you have to the situation that you're in.
Oh yeah, that risky text was such a funny moment. I was dying from laughter on your carpet. I
can't even remember what the text was, but it was some like dirty, flirty thing or something. And you were terrified how she was going to respond, and she was just like, "Ha," yeah, you know. She hearted it, or yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And like when I look back at this, when you broke it down. You said to me like, "Oh my God, what if she finds out you want to have sex with her?" Like,
yeah. What if this woman that you've approached and told that you're interested in her and want to date her thinks that you're sexually attracted to her? That would be the worst thing in the world. You'd have to go and live in a cave. You'd be ostracized from society. You horrible, evil person with needs.
And when you said that to me, then it was like, I don't know, this mental ID just broke down in my head. I was like, no, it's totally fine. And it is totally fine.
And even when it's not, like, say you do overstep someone's boundaries, or you say, like, usually they're going to tell you. And if they're reasonable people and you're a reasonable person, you should be able to just be like, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to overstep your boundaries. And they'll be like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you for the apology. And that's it. It's gone. The beef is like, even if you do fuck up and say something that makes someone uncomfortable, you can just apologize. You know, we're social creatures. We're built to deal with this kind of thing. It's insane to think that, like, you should just constantly be guarding everything you say and do in case you upset somebody at some point. It's like, if you do, then deal with it like human beings, you know? The intent is the only important thing. As long as your intentions are pure, you can talk your way out of it. And if you can't, then the other person isn't reasonable. Unless you've done something really heinous, but most people aren't even close to worrying about that. Here's another question from the same person, and I feel like my answer is going to be very similar, but let's just go for it anyway. How do you even begin to tackle a world that seems to have a personal vendetta against you? That's already like a very Very victim mindset. It's like every step forward is met with a tidal wave of disdain and rejection, drowning out any semblance of hope. Very poetic. Being a NEET, not in employment, education, or training, doesn't just mean lounging about in your... So this person's not employed, basically. It's a label that society slaps on you like a scarlet letter, branding you as a failure, a leech, and a burden. All right, I'm not even going to read any more of this. I might in a minute, but... Like, but he's basically going... I'm unemployed, and because of that, society has cast me out, and I'm a no good, and nobody's gonna fucking love me, and tidal wave of disdain. It's very poetic, over the top, fucking like you're unemployed, dude. So what? I've been unemployed for the past how many years now? Like, granted, I'm making money, but I haven't held a job. Like, people, I say that I'm a coach, and people are like, "Oh, have you ever gone to university?" No, I haven't. I went to college for 3 months, and then I dropped out, and I bummed around Europe playing guitar, and like, I was a bum for years, like a full-on bum. I would hitchhike around. I was sleeping in train stations and like using Tinder to find places to stay. And just like playing guitar for money for years of my life. And it was some of the best years of my life. And everybody I met was friendly and positive and happy. And no one ever, like, here's the thing. Okay, here's the difference. There probably were people that I told that I was doing that, and they're like, oh, and like didn't like me and thought I was but I just filtered all of that shit out. I didn't care. Like the thing that is making you feel like society isn't happy with you, and that they have a vendetta against you, and that you've been slapped with a scarlet letter, and all of this stuff that you're saying, is not that that's actually the case. It's that you feel that that's the case. You feel like there's something wrong with you because you're unemployed, or you're not in employment, education. You feel like you're a dead end or whatever, and so you're like, people. Yes, there are external sources and people in society that will brand you with this, but there is also the opposite. There are plenty of people that don't care and will see you for different reasons. So it's clear that this is like a massive focus in your life, and that you feel like you're going nowhere or whatever. Fucking fix it. Do something about it. If like, it doesn't matter where you are in life or what you're doing. What matters is how you feel about it, and everyone else is going to interpret. Like, other people will mirror that, right? To a certain extent. There's always going to be people with certain opinions, but if you're happy with your life and you're moving in a direction that you like, those people aren't going to matter a fuck to you, right? It's like the Dr. Seuss quote. It's the people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind, right? So all of this stuff that you're saying, like, it's the same person as like, oh, I'm isolated, I'm on online friendships and all this stuff. All of this is inside, all of it's in your head. It's all in your fucking head, right? Change your internal state, and your external state will change as a result. If you're not happy with your life, so fucking do something about it. If you're not happy, like not in employment, education, or training, if that's important to you, get in employment, education, or training. Or just find something to do that brings you a sense of value and worth. And if you feel that you are valuable, you're not going to give a fuck what anybody else feels, and you're going to meet lots of people that feel that you are valuable in turn, because you'll be carrying yourself like that. It's what we were just talking about, is like, you go out, and if you have good energy, people are going to meet you with good energy. What you do in life, like, it's your fucking life. It doesn't matter a fuck what's going on in it, You could be living in a fucking box down by the river. If you're happy and you're enjoying yourself, you're going to meet, like, I've met homeless people with better mentalities than you, my guy. I've met homeless people that are like, yeah, I got out of jail at some point and I live on the street, but you know what? I'm actually really happy. And I used to like sit and bring them coffee and to have a smoke with them and stuff. And they were lovely guys. And this guy was like, yeah, I got out of prison a while ago and I couldn't really adjust to society. So I sit on the street now, and I do the odd job here and then. I send all my money to the daughter, and I've just accepted that this is my life. And that's a sad existence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that that's like a good way to live, but his mindset was like, he wasn't a victim. He's just like, yeah, this is my life. This is what I chose, and I'm happy with it, right? So this is someone that is beneath you in society that has a better mindset than you. What the fuck are you doing? Like, this is making me angry. Do you want to weigh in here?
I can tell it in your voice, man.
How do you deal? He's saying, how do you deal with it? How do you keep pushing forward when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to just give up? Stop telling yourself to fucking give up and do something. Like, you're not, I assume that you live in, you're not like in some fucking slum in India or like some third world African country scraping cobalt out the ground to make phones. So first of all, be happy with what you've got and do something with your life. Stop treating yourself like a fucking victim and just going, woe is me and everything's terrible. Nobody loves me and people are bad. And change your fucking mentality and accept that everything in your life is your fault, right? And then change it and go and do something. Get out, like fucking, okay, here's a few things that you could do. I don't know what your physical appearance and things are like, but like shave your face, get a good haircut, go out, start looking for a job, sign yourself up to some like meetup websites, go and make some friends, go to like a board game cafe, go do free stuff around or things that only cost a few euros. And if you can't get a few euros together, like you got other fucking like go fucking learn to play harmonica and go out on the street and make some money, and then go and buy some coffee in a cafe and talk to some people and just like get out into the world and start doing things and stop viewing yourself as a fucking victim and accept that you need to do some work. And I understand that it's easy to view yourself as a victim because it's when you're viewing life as this like oppressive, horrible thing, it justifies your inaction. And because when you're the victim, you don't need to do the work because you're the victim. It's not your fault that you're the way that you are. It's everyone else's. It's society's fault. And so you don't ever need to take any fucking responsibility for yourself. Whereas if you accept you have the responsibility, now you're going, oh fuck, well I have a lot of hard work to do. Yes, you do. That's fucking life. Everybody has to go through that. And you got one or two choices. You can stay where you are and you can go, woe is me, and lament your existence. And everyone's a fucking arsehole and I'm a horrible, worthless person. In which case, go fucking jump off a don't go jump off a bridge. That's maybe too far. But like, if you're gonna give up, fucking give up, right? Or don't. Or don't fucking give up. Accept that you have some responsibility and take some power over your life. And once you do start taking responsibility, and once you start accepting that everything in your life is your responsibility, it gives you a tremendous sense of power because you have the will, you have the ability to create whatever you want from life. Whatever you want. You can do anything. It's an infinite fucking playground. Stop worrying about shit and just start coming up with things to do. Back to what I was saying, it's like get yourself a little bit of cash together, go out, go to board game cafe, start volunteering at a soup kitchen or like a homeless shelter or something, and see that there are people that are less fortunate than you that don't have a home to go to at night or a family or anything like that, right? Fucking go on the internet and search for like Gaza and see what the fuck's going on over there at the moment. There are people that are like some guys holding together the pieces of his fucking son whilst his home's in flames, and accept that you have it pretty fucking good. Just everything that I'm saying right now, and I'm rambling and I'm going on because this has got me heated. But just stop, man. Like it change your mentality. That's what all of this boils down to, is change your mentality. The things that you experience in your life are a direct result of your internal state. So if you change the things that are going on inside your head, and this can take time, right? And I do empathize with you because I've been there, and this is probably the reason that I'm getting heated. It's like when you see things that anger you about other people, it's really things that you're seeing about yourself. So I am projecting a little bit here because I used to be like this person. And I was like, woe is me, and life is horrible, and all of this shit. Just, you change your mentality. Have faith for a moment that life can be good, right? Because it can. Because if you can accept that other people are having a good life, which I hope that you can accept. If not, like, you're just beyond fucked. But if you can accept that other people have a good life, then why can't you have a good life? And if your answer is, well, because life is oppressive, it should be oppressive to them as well, right? I hope that this dissolves some of the bullshit that's going on in your mind right now. It's all you, man. It's all you. It's all in your head. So change your head. And change what happens around you. And you can do this through experience, through some of the things that we've talked about. You can do it through affirmation, through just repeating positive things to yourself over and over again. I have a post, I can't remember which one it is, but it's one of the behavioral series. It's like habits, and they're called How to Beat Procrastination, Changing Your Habits, and Maintaining Discipline. And somewhere in one of those, I talk about mindset and how to like change the way that you think about things. It's like if you have a thought, you don't have to pay attention to that thought. It's not you. So you have a thought that is negative. Start getting into the practice of like meditation and noticing the things that are going on in your head. And then when you have a thought that doesn't serve you, ignore it. and think about something else and go no, fuck you, I'm in charge, I'm going to take responsibility over my life, I'm going to start feeling better, and I'm going to start doing things. And so you have these negative thoughts and you go, no, I'm going to cancel that out, I'm not going to pay attention to it, fuck you, this is what I want to believe instead, and start telling yourself the things that you want to believe about yourself and your relationship to the world. And I guarantee you 100%, if you do this for a few months and you actually try, you really do this, like you start going, no, fuck you, this is what I want to believe, this is what I want to believe about myself, this is what I want to believe about the world. You start repeating these things to you over and over again and telling yourself a different story, your entire life will change. Watch it change. That's all I have to say on that. I think I went a bit too far on this guy, but whatever. I hope that helps.
Did you say a little bit too far?
Yeah, it's just people with a victim mentality fucking act. It's like, I had a shit childhood, but plenty of people had a shit. If I told you about some of the stories that exist in not me personally, but people in my family, you'd cry, right? It's horrible, evil shit, but they've made it, and so can you, right? It's all your responsibility.
Yeah, well, I'm happy because like the first 10 minutes, you were just firing hate then, and then you saved yourself by saying
it's not
hate. Things you can do.
It's not hate. I don't hate the guy. It's frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people like it's like he's asking for help, but he's not and to the person that asked this question, if you're watching this, I hope that I'm not coming across as like, I am blaming you, but I empathize with you, and I really do genuinely want what's best for you. Like, I'm not saying these things to demoralize you, and I'm not saying these things to go, fuck you, it's your fault, you know. And if that makes you feel worse, then that's not good. And sometimes with people, like, there are steps between you. Like, you can't just go from everything's horrible to everything's fantastic overnight. Like, it's a long process and it takes time. But have some faith that things can be better and start moving in that direction, and accept some responsibility. And I promise things will change for you. And I really fucking hope they do. And I hope that a couple months from now, there's another question from the same person in the post going, I followed your advice and my life is getting so much better, and I've started like lifting weights and taking responsibility, and I got myself a job, and now I have a girlfriend, and like my life is better and I feel really great about myself. I really fucking hope that happens. I do. And to this person, I think that this question has been asked by someone that's in the server on behalf of someone that's not. So for that person that's not, if you join and you start going through the stuff, like, we are here for you. It is a supportive place. I've been a little bit tough love, I guess, but I want you to know that I'm saying these things with your best and with your best interests at heart.
Oh, for sure. And also, how beautiful is it not to start from this point, from like ground zero? You can become like a legend. And if you tell this story like in 5-6 years about how you was and how you are now, wow, this is going to be a success story.
100%. Well, you don't even fucking recognize yourself, and you're looking back and you're like, wow, look at how far I've come. And it's like the people that have had good lives from square one, and they're just like, they grow up in a nice family and they have lots of money and they never have any problem. They're boring fucking people. Like the most interesting people I know, and the best people, like, so honestly, use this as fuel as well. The best people that I know, myself included, as egotistical as that is, have all had shit experiences and started from really shit places, and they've become better people because of it, and their weaknesses have become strengths. They've used those parts of themselves that were fucked up and turned them into something beautiful, like a seed that's budded into a fucking rose bush. And that can be you as well. And then you can look back at this experience and go, wow, I'm so glad that I came this far, and how beautiful. And then you start to appreciate everything in life more as well, because you have something to compare it to. Yeah,
actually, I had this conversation that you were having right now with like a friend of mine earlier, and it was so beautiful, because I think people who didn't have that much in the beginning of their life, or like in a dating area, they are so much more grateful for when they have it, that it's such a better life to have.
100%. Yeah, it's harder to take things for granted when you didn't start with them, you know, because it's that thing. It's hedonic adaptation. Like, whatever you have in life, that's your normal. That's your level of, like, now the position that I still complain about shit. Oh, I have problems here and problems there, and I don't like this. Like, I live a far better life. Like, if even with all of the problems that I currently have, even if like a few years ago the me back then could see the me now, he'd be ecstatic, he'd be over the moon. But I'm here like, oh, you know, I got these problems. Like, And we all do that. It takes some, and we talked about this last time, I think, that about gratitude. It takes some effort to realize how good you've got it.
Oh yeah, yeah. You once gave me like a whole speech about gratitude and like 15 minutes long, and I loved it back in the day. Also, something I want to add to this, which you always say to me in previous calls, is don't try to change everything at once. Like start with small positive changes, like even if it means like brushing your teeth or doing like the journal, like, and then start adding to it. Because if you want to change, like if you want to become the hero in one day, it does not going to work.
Yeah, except that it is a long process, and as long as you are trying, even if it doesn't seem like you're moving, you always are. Like it might take years, and it's difficult to track your progress over years. But it's like from the moment that when I was like 14, I was high as fuck, and I had that, like, I think I talked about this on a previous stream. I had that moment of meta awareness where I realized I could take control over my life. From that moment where I was like, okay, well, do I kill myself or do I start to make changes? From that moment to the first time that I looked at my life and I was like, wow, I'm genuinely happy and I have the things that I want, it was like 4 years, right? But you either, and people can look, and again, with the kind of mentality that this person has, it might seem like, oh, that's far too far away, so why even bother, you know? But once you're, like, the time's gonna pass anyway. The time, you can't stop time, the time's gonna move. So 4 years from now, do you want to be experiencing better things, or do you want to be exactly where you are?
So true. And the thing is, like, I had like a million setbacks as well. Like just so daily, you know?
Everybody does, it's life.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. Like, isn't it fucking cool to overcome these obstacles all the time?
It's that, I can't remember the full quote, but it's like, you ask God for strength and he gives you heavy things to lift, you know? You don't, if you want to be a capable, powerful person and have shit go, like, you need to overcome adversity, you need to go through struggle, and you can either accept that that's a normal, healthy part of life, and it's just part of what comes with being a man specifically as well. It's like, you're gonna have to deal with shit, you're gonna have to do hard stuff if you want a good, exceptional life. If you fight that, it makes your life miserable. If you accept that and you go, fuck yeah, I'm up to the task, like, yeah, like, you're gonna have to go through the pain either way if you want good things in your life. So if you treat that like a normal, healthy, necessary thing, then you feel good about it. You're sitting there pushing through it, going, oh, I can't wait for the other side of this. And when I want to give a shout out to my father right now. I've just remembered a little, like, we used to go on mountain biking trips. Well, mountain biking, like, we'd go, not like a weekend trip or whatever, but we lived in Scotland, so there's mountains everywhere around. So we'd drive for a couple hours and go to some place and then start at the bottom of the hill and cycle all the way up to the top of the hill, or push the bikes all the way up to the top of the hill. And sometimes it would take like 5 or 6 hours, and we'd have food in the bag, and I'd be there like, Dad, I'm hungry, I want some food. And he's like, we don't eat until we get to the top, right? And one of the things he told me is, like, once you get to the top, if you wait and you push through the thing first, if we just sit down and you eat the sandwich, you're going to enjoy the sandwich, but it's not going to be even close to the same experience as if you have the sandwich at the top of the hill, because you fucking earned it when you're at the top of the hill. And I promise you, it's going to taste so much better. And I was there at the time, like, yeah, but I want the sandwich, I'm hungry. And he's like, nah, we walk first, motherfucker, like, get to the top of the hill. And so finally we get to the top of the hill and we pull out the sandwiches, and I have like a bite of a banana and some sandwich, and it's like one of the best tasting things ever, because I've waited hours for it and I've pushed through work to fucking get it. And so we're at the top of the hill eating the sandwiches, and I'm like crying from joy because the sandwich is so good, you know? And I think it's such an important lesson. Like, good job on my father for teaching me that.
Yeah, it's basically what it comes down to with this person is he has a habitual way to think negative, and he has to slowly get over this. And
it is just that, it's habit. That's another good point. Like, recognize this as just like, you've trained your mind to think like this. Life is exactly how you think it's going to be, right? And that means that right now you're like, oh, life's terrible and people are bad. And you're right, it is. But you could also be right if you thought a different way. So accepting that you've just trained yourself to think like this can help you realize that you can train yourself to think another way. And it's is a bit woo-woo, but Abraham Hicks is like this spiritual, supposedly channeled through people. One of the things that they talk about is the vortex. It's like the farther you go in a certain direction, the more you get pulled into it. And it can be hard to pull yourself out, but when you start moving the other direction, you enter a different vortex, and it starts pulling you towards that, like you build momentum is basically what I'm trying to say. So if you accept that your mentality is a habit and you've just trained yourself to think like this, and you're experiencing your life like it is as a result of that, you can completely flip the script and go, okay, I'm going to train myself to think differently and treat it like a game, treat it like a job, treat it like whatever helps you motivate yourself. And train yourself into a different way of thinking, and then eventually, like, it's hard to begin with, but that doesn't mean that it's always going to be hard. And eventually you will just be the person that thinks like that and acts like that and has a good life as a result of it. Your mentality is the single most important thing that you have. Like, you look at people and say what you like about them, there's good things and bad things, but people like Andrew Tate, he is as successful as he is, and he is the way that he is because of his mentality. Elon Musk, he is as successful as he is, and he is the way that he is because of his mentality. People like this, they think certain things about themselves in the world, and so they can't help but be that way because it's their identity. So if you change your identity, you change everything, because you change the way that you are and the way that you think and the way that you interact with the world and the things that the world gives you, because you demand that of it, because it's the only thing that you'll accept. So it's like if I go out, if I'm sitting at a bar and I believe that people who make money are evil and that money is a bad thing and that you have to do bad things in life in order to be rich, I see the guy across the bar wearing the Rolex with the fucking, nice suit on, and I think, oh, fucking asshole. If I believe that, like, money is a beautiful, wonderful thing and it's energy and you can use it for tremendous good, I might see that guy and go over and be like, hey, where'd you get that watch? How did you make so much money? And then he tells me something that's like a mind-blowing thing and changes the way that I perceive money, and then I start to get rich, Does that make sense? The way that you think about the world dictates your result, because you create a filter. So you're filtering things in and out of your life and you could call this a spiritual thing, and you can call it the law of attraction if you want to, or you can just look at it from an entirely pragmatic perspective. The way that you think affects the way that you act, and the way that you act dictates your results. So the way that your life is always a direct manifestation of your internal state. If you don't like your life, if you don't like the things that are going on around you, change what's in here. It's the only way. Because even if you, like, if you think like that, even if you, like, fucking win the lottery or something amazing happens to you that changes your state for a short period of time, you're always going to end up back where you started, because your mindset creates it.
You said something beautiful earlier about the vortex thing and momentum. This is so important. And like even in a simple thing as working out, if you work out 6 times a week, and you do it for like 4 or 5 months in a row, then you have this beautiful momentum. And if you then stop, like, you will miss it, even though it's a hard thing, quote unquote, to do, because you have this momentum and it pulls you
100%
towards things that are amazing.
It's like brushing your teeth. Like, when you were young, you probably used to scream and cry, and your parents were like, no, fuck you have to brush your teeth. And now, hopefully, if you had good parents, like, now it's something that you just do, right? Nobody thinks about, like, I don't like, there are plenty of habits that I have to force myself into doing. I never have to force myself to brush my teeth. I just do it, right? I don't even think about it. It's just like, oh, I'm in the mirror, I'm brushing my teeth. It's just a part of you at that point. Whereas when you were a kid, you're like, I don't want to brush my teeth. This is horrible. You're torturing me, I assume. I mean, that's what I was like. I'm projecting onto everybody else that every other person was also a fucking cunt of a child that didn't accept getting their teeth brushed.
Something that I want to add to this last question as well. So I think somebody like this would extremely benefit from having a community that he can be accountable for his actions.
Discord.gg/self-improvement.
My man.
I mean, that is part, like, yes, it is a business server, and it is there to get me coaching clients and stuff, but I have also set it up in a way that I'm hoping that it becomes a community. Because it's like, I have a post that I wrote called The Problem with Modern Men, and it's available for free. If you go discord.gg/self-improvement, you click on the free stuff, it's right there, The Problem with Modern Men. And I laid out that I think there are 3 main issues that plague men in society today, and one of them is a lack of purpose. And so and I'll kind of summarize the post. as men, we used to have a defined purpose in society. Like if you lived in a hunter-gatherer society, when you woke up in the morning as a man, you had something that you had to do that benefited society. You had to go and build the fire and kill the antelope and build the shelter and all these things and protect the women and children from the bears. And like you had shit that you had to do every day. So it gave you a sense of purpose. And I think in modern society, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but it's like the women have their own jobs now and the children are in school and most people fend for themselves. And it's a very individualistic society that we've built. And so as men, as the people that are as the element of society that is supposed to be protective and is supposed to be like looking out and guarding everybody and providing resources and things like that, if we're just doing that for ourselves, it disconnects us and we feel like, you know, what the fuck am I living for? Like, yeah, I have money and I have a house, and some people excel at that game. Like they become amazing, amazing within the money game, and they amass billions of dollars or whatever, and that fulfills them. But for most guys, they feel disenfranchised because they're like, well, who am I taking care of? You know, and so that's the first problem. The second is a absence of vulnerability, and I go over this a bit better in the post, but it's like we've as men we see emotions and we think. Like there's the modern archetypes, like the James Bonds and the Patrick Batemans, and these people that shouldn't be idolized but are because they're incredibly capable. And as men, we want to be capable, but we see elements of people that are capable and that aren't very emotional, or if they are emotional, their emotions always come out in like anger and rage. And what that teaches us is that if we want to be capable, confident men, we need to shut down our fucking emotions because that they get in the way, and it can only come out as like masculine things, like being angry and punching stuff, you know. And or maybe you've had bad experiences with women where it's like you've been vulnerable and they've rejected you as a result because you're. And again, this is something we'll talk about another time, but there's a huge difference in needy vulnerability and healthy vulnerability. I think I talked about this in the first stream that we did. And so we've cultivated an environment where men are no longer really capable of being vulnerable in a healthy way, and that also isolates us from each other. And then the third and final thing is a lack of community. We don't have, and that goes back to the first point. It's like we don't have a cohesive group anymore. Like people aren't banding together and working together and collaborating. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It's talking about Andrew Tate, and I mentioned earlier, I think he's like a very powerful person. He has this very strong mindset that helps him get where he is in life. But he also believes that life is he's always talking about, oh, there's always a war, and life is about competition, and if you're not competing as a man, then you're not getting anywhere. And I think that isn't wrong, but it's only one way of looking at things. I think life can either be competitive or it can be collaborative, and I think collaborative is far healthier. I think it's better to find healthy competition is good. Healthy, like everybody's always competing to a certain extent, but it's not a fuck you, let's fuck each other over competition. It's hey, let's see who can lift more competition. You're both working together to build each other up, and so as I laid out in that post, we're lacking. We're lacking that community. We're lacking other people around us that are building us up. We're very isolated and disenfranchised, and these are the three things that I think are plaguing men in the modern era. It's like we're lost. It's like, well, what the fuck are we doing? We're lost, and no wonder it's like 75% of suicides are committed by like the number one thing that is most likely to kill you as a man in the UK is suicide. It's above like heart disease. It's the number one thing. The thing that is most likely to kill you is yourself. It's horrible.
Scary.
Yeah.
That's why like networking is so important. Like to get into good communities.
Yeah. That's the point I was making. Sorry. It's I mean, the server is set up as hopefully a place where we start to band together and really collaborate and help each other with shit, you know? Come and be like, you need help with this, I need help with this, let's talk, let's be friends. Like we need to rebuild that bit of ourselves that we've lost, that bands together and works together on shit, rather than viewing everybody like people have this like suspicious mindset that I can't trust anybody and fuck you if I can't have it, you can't have it, or one of us needs to get it. It's a fucked up way to live, just being in constant competition with everybody. I'm rambling, but I think I got my point across. Sorry, on you go, man.
Yeah, you did. And the thing about this community is like it's it takes a sip of more wine. But what I was going to say is the community is just filled with good ideas, and it's a space of positivity, I feel like. And this is so important. Like if you surround yourself with people like this, people who want to grow themselves, it's inspiring, and you feel so motivated to keep on pushing, even if you feel like you're all by yourself. You never are with a community.
Yeah, and you're right. Even though it's this small thing right now, there's like 200 people in there or something, but there's only a few that are active. But of the people that are active, they're genuinely lovely people. Like I'm already incredibly proud of some of the stuff that goes on in there. It's like people are talking and helping each other, and I'm not gonna name any names specifically just in case they want to keep themselves more anonymous, but there's a couple of guys in there that I'm like, these are genuinely really wonderful people, and I'm happy to be cultivating a place where people like that can sort of get together. I'm just gonna completely shill and roll this into a plug. If you want to join a community like that, you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement. There's a bunch of free posts. There's some sections for people to talk to each other. It is a paid membership server, but you don't have to be a paid member to get in there. There is a discount code at the moment, actually, that gives you 50% off the first 6 months of membership, because I'm still working on stuff. There are about 20 posts available for now. There's going to be around 60. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, going to be 11 that I give away for free that people can just go in and read. And they're centered on like dating and making friends, and there's some productivity stuff in there. I give all of this away for free. So if you want to go in and look at some of that information, you're more than welcome to. I also give a free one-on-one coaching call, like a private session, to anybody who wants one. You can go into the Discord and DM me. I'm at The Real Ben Campbell. I am the same on Instagram and Rumble and a bunch of other platforms like that. Yeah, just before we sign off, I want to share something with the people, the like 2 viewers who are watching. If you're old enough to drink alcohol, I don't suggest that you do drink alcohol, but I've been sipping on a wonderful cocktail of my own creation called the Scotch Lowball, and it is Scotch whiskey, maple syrup, and tonic water. And it is delicious. And everybody that I have ever given one of these to has said it's delicious. So I highly I want to spread the word and get the Scotch Lowball out there.
Are you like putting people onto drinking, Ben? Or
yeah, I'm telling people to smoke and drink and engage in terrible habits. Yeah.
And do heroin and cocaine.
I realized the other day, it's like because I used to smoke 1 or 2 of these a week, and now I'm smoking 1 or 2 a day, and I'm like, I'm not addicted. It's fine. I could never be addicted to tobacco. I'm fine. I am definitely in control of myself and my habits. This is what a ridiculous notion to suggest that when I wake up in the morning I want to smoke, and that I can't concentrate properly if I go 2 days without one. And I realized that I have a problem now, and I have started to get addicted to tobacco. But the conclusion that I've come to is, whilst I'm ramping up and I'm building this business, it's like I can't afford to take a month off to break the habit now, because I won't be able to concentrate or do shit. So I just have to accept that I'm now a filthy, disgusting tobacco addict.
So you have to replace it by drinking Scotch whiskey.
Yes, exactly.
That's the logical approach.
I'm very much a do as I say and not as I do kind of person. No, I feel like for the most part I am pretty congruent in terms of the advice that I give in my own lifestyle. Like I don't teach, like, yes, I'm drinking and smoking, and that's not necessarily a healthy thing to do, but everything in moderate. Like I have maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week, and I smoke 1 or 2 little cigars a day, which is not good. I'm not like, yeah, I'm giving away my cocktail recipe, but I'm not suggesting that people actually. Maybe that was a bad idea. I don't know. Whatever. I just think it's a fun drink. But like I had a guy come into the community the other day, and I'm sorry for calling you out, bro, if you're watching this, but he came in and I've had a few people like this come along, and they say like, oh, I can help, like just DM me, I can help you with all of your problems, like let's get some shit. And I always ask them, I'm like, well, what's your experience, and are all of the, and I wrote another post about this, it's called you're probably not ready to help people, because like when I was, especially when I was just starting up the server and I started like advertising it to a few people, I had loads of guys join, and they're like 14, 15, 16, and they're like, yeah, I'm also a coach, and I can help you with this and this, and I'm like, okay, so what can you help with? And they go, anything, man. Like I give no nonsense, no bullshit advice to people, and I'll tell them exactly what they need to hear. And I'm like, okay, so you have lots of money, you got a great job, you have a perfect work-life balance, you're dating lots of beautiful women, because clearly like you can help with social matters, you got great friends around you, you're happy most of the time, like you're very emotionally stable, you got a fantastic life, like you don't really have any problems, and things are going very well for you, and your life is exactly how you want it to be, clearly, because you're giving away all of this advice. And they're like, oh shit, no, I ain't got any of that, I live with my parents. And I'm like, so what the fuck are you giving advice for, you know? Like I tell people, like, I can give advice on the social matters and I can give advice on the dating matters, and I'm not trying to brag here, but I have those areas of my life fucking nailed down, right? And Anton can speak to this as well. You've seen it. Like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to these things, and my
I've
clients
seen
get
the
results,
legend in
and
action, people.
Sorry.
I've seen the legend in action.
The legend, but it's
In
like
social matters.
I don't give advice on areas that I am not incredibly competent in areas of my life. Like, I'm not giving anybody money advice because I'm fucking terrible with money. People come in and they're like, how do I make cash? I was like, well, here's what I think, but please note, like, I am by no means a financial advisor. Like, my money situation needs work, right? And I say I don't have a spending problem. I have an income problem. I definitely have a spending problem. But it's the like all the social stuff. Like, I date beautiful women. I have no problem getting relationships and getting women around me, and or making friends. I have great friends. I have people like yourself and Slade, and like people that I think are genuinely wonderful people that add to my life. I'm surrounded by great friends and beautiful women, and so I feel. And every time I give advice to clients, they get results. And so that's an area of my life that I have locked down. And I give productivity advice because I'm someone that started from a place where it's like, I couldn't do shit. I got mad ADD. I'm heavily distractible. It took me years just to begin doing like any of the littlest things. And now I maintain like consistent good habits. And I have, like, I can name the different fucking parts of the brain and what they do in relation to these things. And it's like, I give advice on these things because I have nailed them down. And I don't like all of the other areas. Like I have a so in the forum there's like behavioral, emotional, social, physical, spiritual, and financial. I only post in the behavioral, emotional, and social ones. The physical, spiritual, and financial, I don't have that shit nailed down yet, so I've left that for other people in the community to do their own shit. Like, I'm not posting things that I don't know about. And I think what happens is like, and I wrote about this in the post that I mentioned, the you're probably not ready to help people, which is another one of those free posts. It's like people, I think guys, and this happens a lot in the pickup community as well, guys start off and they don't feel good about their lives and they feel like there are things that are missing, and then they see people that have shit going on, they see coaches and quote unquote gurus and stuff, and they want that for themselves. Like, they see them living good lives, and so they take the shortcut. Rather than doing the work, they just start to soak up information and then start to teach that information to other people because they want the recognition and they want the respect they see those people getting. And it's like they're taking a shortcut and not actually doing the work and just trying to fill that part of themselves that has the lack. So they're like, yeah, I'm a coach now. And they're just really, like, they think they know stuff, but really what they're doing is they're just parroting advice that they've heard elsewhere that's like very surface level shit. Like, when it comes to the social matters, like I can have a very deep conversation and explain to you exactly why all of this works the way that it does and get you from A to B, and it's because I have the experience. If you don't have the experience, it's very easy to think that you know what you're talking about but really have just nothing. And I hope that doesn't come across as arrogant, but I think it's a really big problem in the personal development industry, and it turns people away because people come in and they need help, and then they find these like fake gurus and bullshit coaches that have no idea what they're talking about, and it disillusions them and puts them off the entire industry as a whole, and they never end up getting the help that they actually need because they can't find it, because there's just these like swaths of fake arseholes pretending they know what they're talking about, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like cocky at all, what you say now, because when I talk to people, my friends sometimes about dating matters, like, and I ask them like questions, and then I ask you the same question, it's like a world of difference, and theirs is very, very, very shitty. That I would never ever even follow.
This is something I always say to you. It's like, you're like, yeah, but my friends say this. I'm like, yeah, but do your friends have a life that you want to emulate? Like, in the area that you're asking them about, do they have results that you want to emulate? And you're like, no. I'm like, well, don't listen to them then, you know? It's like, if they're telling you certain things, and they, like, if you want a certain lifestyle and they have a different lifestyle, and like, no, that would never work, you can't do that shit. It's like, don't fucking listen to them. Clearly they have no idea. It's like the guy that doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't really date, and he's been single for like 2 years, and no, you could never say that, and you can't just go out and talk to people. That'd be terrible. Or do you want to take advice from the person that's actually done it and gets the results and knows for a fact that it works? Like, follow the people that have the lifestyles that you want. Yeah. I think that's a good place to wrap up. This has been a very not angry, but very, very ranty call. Call it, if you Ben insults his viewers, this will be called, or something. I don't know. Shit. That's
funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Anton. And thank you all for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this stream, again, you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement. You can ask questions. You can join in on the next one. Maybe I'll make a bit more effort. And I've been thinking, like, I turn up to these streams like I'm barely put together. I'm wearing a bathrobe and shit like that, but I'm comfortable. And I think that's appropriate considering that I've called it off the cuff. Like, this is supposed to be just like a ranty, rambly. I want to have a separate podcast called For the Record that is like more well produced and put together. But it's like, I think I was joking with Slade the other night. It's like, maybe I should turn up to these just not wearing pants, just to give it that really unprofessional feel.
You totally should.
No, but I'll roll back and I'm just in boxers. Yeah, all right. I'll be back again. This stream happens every week at 5 p.m. local to Sofia, which is Eastern European time or Eastern European summertime, depending on the time of year. If you want to ask questions, if you want to call into the show, I want to get some people calling in because I think it's better. You can bounce off of people and actually answer the questions better. You can go into the server and there's a section called Off the Cuff and there's a submissions area there. And you can choose to either put in a text-based question or call in.
Well,
thanks,
Ben. Before you say, I don't think I can join next week, and that's actually your fault because I'm on a date with a beautiful Mexican girl. So.
Oh no, Anton can't join me because he's fucking. Good. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I'll get Slade to fill in. At some point when the business takes off a little bit more, I'll hire like a proper producer. And someone like a young Jamie to my, not that I'm comparing myself to Joe Rogan, but like a person that can do all of that stuff. That'd be helpful. All right, I'm going to end the stream now. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the questions, the people that submitted, and I'll see you next week.